for the Oklahoma State Cowboys on Saturday, administered a whooping to the imams. As I explained to the 4 young men that brought it up to me, is you do not mess with the Cowboys because we get no respect. We don't expect any respect. And we're that dog you just backed into the corner. Don't bet against us. We're spoilers. We almost were the big dogs in 2011, and then they decided to play LSU with Alabama. Excuse me. I'm just telling you, we will do our best. I don't even know where we're playing, if it's down at their home or our home. Is it our place? But I got to tell you, we will commit 100%, and we will try to work on our mistakes. And I want to tell you, I made the comment last night at the bar, and we were eating, not drinking, at the bar at the Holiday Inn to the bartender about what it's like to be in the Chesapeake Energy Center when the Thunder plays anybody. Because every seat's full and you can't hear the next day. And I was reminded that this is done every time down here, wherever the hell you play basketball. And so I have been educated, and I honestly have no clue what a rock chalk means. But I know for a fact that I did not tell my niece and her husband in Overland Park that I'm here, because they're K-State grads and I don't want to hear it. But we will do our very best, and we will follow the standards of honor, commitment. We'll do our best. But you don't want to mess with Cowboys. You never know what you're going to get, and this is really, this is it. That's not loser. Might be. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, back in '67, this is what I look like. That's the guy with the big ears on the back row. That's all of our Honorable Air Society guys, and the guys that were going to go to pilot school. So the thing I liked about it was we knew what we wanted to do from the get-go, and we didn't let anything get in our way. Okay? I'll give you an example of getting in the way is when I took my physical, I had been knocked out once, and doctor was going to just say, no, you can't go because you had a concussion. You can't go to pilot school. BS, with great big flag and stuff. And I says, by God, I will. And I talked him into giving me some tests, and sure as heck I went to pilot school. So no matter where you're at in life, if you have a goal, you have a desire, press on. Don't let somebody tell you you can't do it. You know that you really can. Blue Wolfpack, that says Alvac on the deal there, but Wolfpack was our fast movers. We had the slow movers, the OB-10s, and the bird dogs directing strike aircraft on targets in basically Laos. I'm interdicting stuff that was coming down from the south or from the north into South Vietnam. Our primary job as fast movers is we can deal in the high threat area. I flew 2 combat tours as a wolf, 350 and a half missions as a wolf, a little over 1,000 hours of time as a wolf, and got hit 7 times total, of which the 7th time was the worst one. The rest of it was all recover the airplane and bring her back home. The 7th time it did work. But it was a great organization, and we had some really great guys. This is the IV picture, set in front of the 433rd. And the neat thing about the 433rd is we were the laser squadron in Ulan, Thailand, the first squadron to deploy and use laser-guided bombs. You'll find that later in my second tour, the North Vietnamese do that I knew about laser gas bombs. Neil Bynum, this young man over here on the far right, or not far right, this guy right here, 1966 grad. He graduated in December from Oklahoma State. He was Arnold Air Society, just like myself. He went to Vance, as did I, follow 6 months behind him. He went to F4s, just like I did. He went to Ubon, just like I did, and ended up flying as a Wolf. When he got shot down, he was a backseat pilot, a Gib, flying as Wolf 5 when they impacted the ground after identifying a target. Neil, needless to say, didn't come home. I was up on his SAR the next day. No contact with him. You really get nervous because you don't know where he was exactly. I mean, we can see the burnout spot, but whether in fact did he get out of the airplane or not, nobody saw shoots. We always assume if there's not a shoot, the guy got out. But we never saw Neil again. I'm setting up an award in Neil's name at Oklahoma State for a scholarship for young guys that plan on hopefully going to pilot school, guys or gals that have a desire of excellence. Neil was really a sharp guy, really sharp. Everything he touched was gold. He was just a highly competitive guy, super combat guy, and it's only fitting that I do this in his name. The neat thing is his wife and his daughter, which Neil never got to meet, will be at that award ceremony this April in Stillwater. Now, some guys say, well, why did you wait all this time to do something for Neil? And it had to do with Mike getting me off my backside and giving back. Becoming involved with you guys, making you a part of our lives, let you experience what we experience. And it's imperative that I do this for Neil because I want you guys to do it for your comrades who go before you forever. Don't ever leave a guy behind. Even if you can't get him out, we'll get him out later. He remains. That's what happened to Neil. He finally came home. Was buried in his hometown. But he's a great guy. I wear his bracelet every day. And it's just important to me to recognize the sacrifice that he made so that you guys can be here on this school. There you go. Well, that's kind of waving the flag a little bit too much for me. And I'll tell you, it's not, because if it wasn't for guys like Neil Bynum giving his life in combat, we may not have the freedoms that we enjoy today. So don't say that's a BS flag. It's the U.S., the United States of America flag that I'm waving. My God, we can, in fact, make the difference. Neil's war picture. These are all Wolfpacks that we lost in combat. That memorials at Flag Pat. Old Smoky, that's my airplane. Flew the Old Smoky and the F-15. I compare the F-4 to like 1957 Chevy that I had when I went to college. Pretty impressive car, pretty impressive airplane. And then I went to the Eagle and I bought a Corvette. Guess what? Corvette and the Eagle are about the same. Highly responsive, highly capable. And you look awesome in it too. But that's my comparison between Old Smoky. She really would take a beat and keep on ticking. We've had guys come back with atoll sticking in the tail. Didn't detonate for whatever reason. We've had guys come back and walk around in the wing and do like this and not touch any part of the airplane where a 37 millimeter went off in the wing. Just brought him home. She's an awesome airplane. She served our country quite well for many years. The Navy and the Air Force and all of our allies had the F-4 as an integral part of their lives. This guy is called a Star of David SAM site. And the reason I show that is the night before I was shot down, I was at a briefing for this mission that we were going to go on. And the intel guy goes, "There's no SAMs in the area." I break out this big flag that says BS on it, and I wave it. And I take out this picture that I have. I says, "This is a current picture of one of the SA-2 sites located this north of the DMZ. And our job was to go in and strike the heavy artillery pieces that were fired from North Vietnam into Mike's and Yarvin's fire bases to the south." And the guy says, "No, no SAMs." I said, "Well, that's fine. There are." Okay. This is what happens when a SAM finds an F-4. And it's about what my airplane was like. The theory is, if you can see the SAM, you can avoid it. You can defeat it. It's a telephone pole going Mach 3. Doesn't turn for anything. So you can go up, and it'll start to pitch up with you, and then you go down, and it'll try, and then you make one more turn, and you just can't hack it, install itself. The caveat is you got to see it. Well, the day I got shot down, SA-2 sites had been blinking on and off, coming up on our raw gear as we were attacking some 85 millimeter gun positions there in the just north of the DMZ area. And so I decided that I would go up the river and take a look at the pictures. I had pictures of 3 SAM sites. And as I went by the first one, it was just like that previous slide, but nothing on the ground. I mean, it was just a star. And as I rolled back up, jinking going down the road or the river farther north, here comes 2 guys with their tails on fire. They just launched 2 SAMs. I was the weapons guy in my squadron and in the Wolves. And so I knew that SA-2 was not guiding on me because the rocket boosters were still on. It's got to fall off before the guidance antenna will show or pick up the signal from the fence on the radar. So I says, great. I just spun over the top of that guy and says, "Give me some guys from Da Nang gunfighters. Come on up here and we'll just take out this site that just shot at us." Well, the guys to the south of me were doing the chicken. You know how they bounce around and kind of rock and roll and dive into the ground and things, because those 2 guys went by and they kept getting indications of launches. The Gophers have the tendency or have the capability to simulate a launch. And when that launch simulation occurs, you get it on your raw gear or the electronic gear in the airplane, and you go, "Oh, heck, they're launching," and everybody starts doing the chicken. trying to figure out where it's coming from. Well, I'm sitting over the top of this guy. The one to the south of me is not occupied, and the one to the north of me, which I didn't get up to see yet, wasn't launching. So I said, come on, guys. It's okay. They're just going dummy low. Then my buddy, Ralph, sees, I found out yesterday, at the last second, at our 9 o'clock, that missile getting ready to blow behind our airplane. And it was the very first optically guided SA-2F MPU. It was run by the Russians. The guys at Saigon, behind the green door, the intelligence folks, were listening to those Russians talking about how they're going to blow this F-4 out of the sky. Too secret for us to know about, right? Because then we have to compromise something about knowing the North or the Russians were in control of the SAMs, and this was optically guided SAM. But well, the next day, we lost an F-105G Weasel and an RF-4. 4 more guys. The day after that, they finally decided that maybe it wasn't too secret. Maybe they should go ahead and strike that thing. I wouldn't be telling you this story if, in fact, they'd just given us the information out of the get-go. But we lost another Thud and another F-4 the next day because, again, they were not smart enough to get the word out. So you guys ask the question. When it's your ass on the line, you want to know for sure that you're being covered. Somebody's got your six. Okay? Just don't blindly trust them. That's part of teamwork, right? We're all a team. We've got to work together. But by God, you want to make sure the other half of the team is pulling their weight. When it comes to laughing, by God, it's really serious business. Wasn't a lot of fun. Ended up with flat spin. This is a few days later in Hanoi. Ralph, a backseater, and I, and a RF backseater. The reason I found out that we were on TV was Nixon was in China at the same time. His first trip to China, and they were trying to use this as some type of propaganda that the Americans were the ugly Americans that were fighting war criminals and pirates and all that other stuff. And in fact, we were just doing our job and got shot down, and they took our picture. The thing is, as we come down and shoot, I always carry 4 hand grenades with me. Carried 2 on my chest belt on my parachute harness, and 2 on my gun belt. And I always carried leaded hollow points in my round, pistol. Because 99% of our missions were flown in Laos, and Laos was not taking prisoners. If they come up on you with a machete, you can guarantee you're going to lose your head. And it had happened before to other airplanes. So my intent was never to lose my head before somebody else went before. I was going to take out as many of them as I could. Well, I land right in the corner of a rice paddy, and there's 2 squads of infantry coming up on each one of those dikes. everybody's got an AK-47. And there's one guy on this left side, he's got a 9mm pistol. And he's just, and it's sprinkled right at my feet. So if he sprinkled at my feet, I know he could have raised it up and hit me right in the chest if he wanted to kill me. So obviously he didn't want to kill me. But I looked at those grenades, and I looked at my risers. I'm just standing there. No PLF jumps or anything like that. Just clunking, standing up. And I asked John Wayne, my friend, I says, John, shall we pull these pins today? Or shall we raise our hands? The Duke says, Schwertfeger, if I were you, I would raise your hands. Because if you try to pull those pins right now, you're guaranteeing your death. I says, John, maybe you're right. So I undid my risers, put my hands up, and was captured. Did I have the opportunity to escape and evade? No. It was, my time was up. Ralph, coming down the chute, is above me because he went out first. And that means he was floating while I'm still going down the airplane, and then I got to flip out. As I come down the chute, I see the fireball, and I break out my radio, and I go, Mayday, Mayday. We've been hit. Now, I made that call also in the airplane, but as you can tell from the other picture, there was no ASM to that airplane. The engines, the generators, the hydraulics. So I make that call, and then I see this fireball. And I'm going to where the fireball is at the ground. And it reminded me of little Joe Moore, Thunderbird, Washington, D.C. So, ocean loops. Flips the tail. Jumps out. Airplane lands. Little Joe Moore comes down the chute. The heat from the fire raises little Joe Moore up, centers him over the fire, starts to melt his parachute right in the fireball. I says, I'm a quick learner, you know. I knew that I didn't want to do that. So I dropped my radio, still on a string, but dropped it, and reached up here way high to find the risers to pull the two cords to slip the chute so I could miss the fireball. That's why I ended up nice and softly landing in the corner of the rice paddy. Ralph wasn't as fortunate. He landed right next to the village on the other side of this rice paddy back here. And this old guy come at Ralph with his blunderbuss gun, and he had shot at Ralph. But then he turned around and Ralph's just taking off his helmet. This guy takes that blunderbuss and whacks him right across the head. I mean, knocked Ralph silly. Thankfully, he had enough adrenaline in him that it didn't compromise him. I mean, he was knocked silly, but he was still kind of conscious. Another thing that was interesting in the chute is that we were taking small arms and even AAA fire, which kind of gets your attention, you know. You're coming down and you think, well, this doesn't look very good. And there's this guy down there going, the guys with AKs shooting them. Luckily, their aim wasn't very good, or the drift on the chute was perfect, or whatever it happened to be, but there by the grace of God, they didn't hit me. And then the fact that they scared me on the ground. I says, I think I'm going to be a prisoner. I'm going to survive this. As they marched me away from the site, little guy with pith helmet, AK-47, right behind me. And we come up to this big ditch. And he grabs me by the shoulder and stops me. And he cycles around through the chamber. And I go, oh yeah, sure, maybe. I guess all those good things you thought were going to happen, we're going to cease right here because we're going to be pushing up bullets in this damn trench. Scared? First time I was scared. And I thought I was going to die. But then the guy turned and walked along the ditch rather than trying to go through the ditch. I was just, I want to make it through this. And we did. Life in the prison camp was atrocious. I'll give you some examples, you guys, on what. Within the camp, we'll talk about this, and how it got us all through, but once you're in the camp system, you learn that the code of conduct is your Bible. It's what you live by. But the thing that's really important is over here on the right, because that is your code of conduct. You know, it says Article 1 that I am an American fighting man. No kidding, I am. And I've just been asked to serve my country in a very difficult and trying situation, as were 592 guys also. So it wasn't just me, it was them. And we all had a job to work together to communicate, to believe in each other. And the North Vietnamese really enjoyed trying to break down the communications that we had. They would torture guys for communicating. They saw Hagdahl and beat Stratton with their little brooms. They were using the brooms as tap code. Swish, swish, swish. Being A, B, C, D, 1, 1 is an A. Okay, so swish, swish. And they had to spell out what they were doing after sleeping. And if they weren't sleeping, they might be coughing and spitting and sputtering. They were communicating with the rest of the guys in the camp that were held inside the rooms when they were out. So everybody knew what was going on. I spent about 90 days, which is nothing compared to the old guys. But it was the longest of the new guys in solitary confinement. And I remember the first time I saw the old guys. God, it was awesome. I'm peeking out this little crack, and these guys are out there. And so I got a trap door in my door where they bring the food in. So I moved the little thing that was holding it up, got it down, waved my towel out there to the guys so they could see me. Pretty soon they come over sweeping by and says, "You're okay, we're here with you. Don't do anything to compromise the code of conduct. Name, rank, and serial number is important, but there are times when you will be forced to go beyond name, rank, and serial number. But when you do that, you're going to bounce say, name, rank, give you an example of a guy that's so tough and the epitome of a code of conduct is Jim Castro. He was a Korean War ace, squadron commander, stud pilot. He saw his wingman get shot down. Saw the chute land on the ground, but didn't move. Jim stood over him as long as he could and had to head back out. No SARS north of the river. Jim gets to the tank, and the tank, the airborne ABCCC, the 130 command center, says, get back up there and cover your guy on the ground. Kastler says, you know, it's not going to do any good because there wasn't any movement. The chute was just laying there. He says, I don't care, go back up. So Kastler saluted. Went back up. The chute was still there. Those guys were around. And so Kastler reported that. And I says, okay, you can come out. And on his way out, you got to get spent 5.5 years. When he went out in the thud, the stick went full right, broke his leg here in the thigh. And at the time, they were really trying to get a lot of propaganda out of the guys. And so they told Kastler, you will tell us how good the medical treatment is. Kastler says, no, I'm not going to tell how good it is until you take care of my broken leg. If you take care of my broken leg, then maybe I will say something. I says, no, see this document, you must sign it first. Kastler says, no, I can't, I won't. I will not take part in your propaganda. Oh, it really made him mad. They took Kastler's broken leg. As they held him down, started twisting. Blood and pus and all that nasty stuff that's within a broken leg get all over this document that they have and everything. Jim gets to the point, he can't stand the pain anymore. He goes, I'll sign your document. I just can't stand it. He broke. Well, the Gomers decided that it was probably not the smartest thing to do to take this document and have Jim sign it with all that blood stuff all over it and give it to the press. So they went back to type up a new one. And it was such that they had a hunt and peck when they typed out this new document. Kastler to sign about how good the medical treatment was. They come back in. Tell Kastler, you must sign up. Kastler says, I ain't signing anything. You didn't take care of my broken leg. In fact, you made it worse. Why would you think I was signing it? Because you told us. I'm telling you, I'm not doing it. Oh, that really made him unhappy. And they went through the same thing again. Blood and pus, I mean, it was nasty. Kastler was screaming at the top of his voice, I cannot take this anymore. He broke. Said, I'll sign your document. The Gomers weren't smart the first time, and I sure weren't smart the second time, because the document got all covered with stuff. So they went back, typed up again. They come back in, third time. Go be a charm. You will sign! Kastler says, you think I'm signing that? You're crazy. You told me you would sign! Well, I lied. But he bounced back, guys, and that's what's important. And that's what the code is about. To your best of ability. When you break, you can get right back in. And they'll find somebody else that's weak, that's not as strong as you are. And he'll break. But they knew within the camp system that you weren't the only one being tortured that day. And that we all broke from torture. And we all said we were going to do something. But in most cases, we never did. We stood strong. We stood together. Duty, honor, country. That means something to us. And it means something to you. Because you're wearing the cloth that will be serving in a combat environment. And even the gals, they very likely, even as a bus driver, may find yourself in a combat situation and being captured. Happened in Iraq too. So be prepared. You never know until you're there. I guarantee you that. The big strapping guy. I mean, he's 6'5", 230 pounds. I mean, eats nails for breakfast. Gomer comes up and slaps him in the face. He goes, "Oh my God! You hurt me!" And the little guy, just about your size now, she spits right in her eye. Or he spits right in her eye. He says, "Get out of here. I'm not going to do that." So you never know till you're there. The big strapping guy did. But he sure whined for a while. And then the rest of his compadres humiliated the crap out of him, so that he learned that he wasn't alone, that other guys also suffered. I gave you another type of torture, and it's called psychological. When we moved from the zoo to the Hilton, we went to a place called Heartbreak Hotel within the Hilton. It's 8 cells on each side, 2 concrete slabs. In there were manacles set, leg locks in the beds, and there were manacles on the floor. And I'm in there with some of these other guys that had moved with me to the Hilton. And we're all talking, chatting. But anytime a Gomer would come by, gotta get down, gotta be quiet. The thing is that the old guys were so used to the torture and everything that when they hear the turnkey come walking down, wiggling that key in Heartbreak Hotel, everybody started panicking. Because which one of us was it going to be tonight? How bad is it going to be? And then stop at your door. And just pray to God. God, please don't let it be me. I can't take the torture. They have beaten me so bad. Please, God, let it pass. He pulls the key out of your door. Walks over here. Thank you, God, for sparing me. But your shipmate here, they drag him out. 10 minutes later, you hear him scream at the top of his voice. begging not to be, begging not to torture. You go. You should have taken me. Because I know I am stronger than I should be. He was just tortured yesterday. He hasn't recovered. Never recovered. I can do it. Why not spare him psychologically? Right? There's a big mind game. And I guarantee you, torture, by any means, is just horrific. By the fact that us, 6'1", 185 pounds, pretty strapped stud. And all this time, the Gomers had wanted to know about LGB, right? I was in the 433rd Squad. Well, the Gomers had my Form 5, that's that log of my flying activities from Ubon, up in Hanoi about a week after I shut down. And during my initial interrogations and things, they wanted to know about laser guy bombs. Right? You know, I just, hey guys, I was a brand new cop. I just got here. You know, I was sick on my body. You could see this North Vietnamese officer. His vein in his head was about to blow out. I mean, he wanted to reach across that table, grab me by the throat, strangle me until my eyes popped out. Then he wanted to grab my eyeballs and stir it around. That's no person. And I said, guys, I just don't know him. Well, in the back, there were Caucasian guys with blue epaulets. My assumption was they wanted to run something back. I don't know. They break out the Aviation Week magazine. I call it Aviation Leak because here it has everything about the LGBTs and whatever. Well, there's your source. Don't ask me. I don't know. Well, that worked until the 10th of May. And on the 10th of May, 2 flights of 4 F-4Ds out of Ubon flooded with LGBTs. Dropped all the streets. The next day, they dropped the Hanoi Bridge. When they came to me on the 10th and says, well, I'm closed, I go, I don't know what this is about. And we didn't stop at Heartbreak Hotel. They blindfolded me, shackled me, and went out the door. Big door. I go, I'm not supposed to go out the big door. The guys told me that's part of the rules. You don't leave the camp. Okay. You must report it if you leave the camp. Well, I guess I'll do it when I come back, if I come back. And so we take about a 15-minute drive to this other, and they throw me down on the floor, and there's this table, and this guy called the Bug, big old eyes, he was the lead interrogator and the lead guy responsible for. So down on the ground, the 2 gooks, both of them are about 6 foot tall, which is unheard of. These guys are really big. But they just picked me up and stand there in front of the Bug. The Bug says, tell us everything you know about the LGBT. And I go, I don't. That's as far as I got. I don't. AK-47, but boom. And the building I'm in, or the room I'm in, is 3/4 of the way up, is all just solid rock, pointy rock. And I bounce off that thing at the speed of heat. So this hurt pretty good. That hurt quite a bit. And he says, tell me about the LGB. And I go, guys, I've already went through this. I do not know anything about it. I've already told you that. They throw me down on the floor. They take a parachute rope, a nylon strap, and they take my arms, which are manacled, and they bring them up like this, and they have the rope, that nylon strap, go between my biceps. And that big guy cinches till you almost touch. I dare say even the most agile person will not get your elbows to touch. Okay? But they will, I guarantee you, they will. And the old guys know too. They will touch. And what they were doing then is took 2 U-bolts, most farmers know what U-bolts are, clevises, and a 25-pound rod, and put my ankles in that and run the rod through the top, and then with that 6-foot gomer standing on my shoulders, with my hands up here, draws me to look to a spot that most people generally just don't check out very often. Not on an eye-to-eye basis. But I was looking up myself. And they tied me on. What happens is it shuts off the blood to every known area that you've got. Cuts off blood supply because you've been over here at the waist, your arms, your back, your neck, your legs. You just kind of turn it into a bed, sure. They asked me again. I said, well, I still don't know anything about it. Then I saw this other goer over here walk over and get a fan belt of a gas 63 truck. I mean, it was a big gas truck's fan belt. Trapezoidal, probably about yay wide at the narrow end. Anyway. And what the old guys told us, new guys at the time, was that if you do not talk from that torture, they will fillet you with that kind of remedy. And you will say anything. Probably more than you want to say. When you walked over to that pound belt, I made a combat decision. That decision was, if I control this, I can control this. So I allowed as how maybe I actually knew something about the culture. That's all it took. I gave them the biggest story because nobody else knew. And so I took sand and I just packed sand where it was never known to be stacked in those guys. But they liked it because they was talking. And it's not your job to talk. Ain't right. Verb. But when it becomes necessary for survival, say something, but don't say anything you can't backpedal your way back out of it. They didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I was telling them, oh yeah, this laser thing. We can see you guys, when the truck drivers are down there on the road, they're bitching and moaning about the shackles of the trucks. We're listening to that. And then we just fly this bomb right down. This guy's, he knows this. And that's the last thing he knows. It's this bomb. says, oh yeah, you know, we can do this, we can do that. Boy, this guy's just. None of those meant squat, but it got them off my hands. And then when I signed this little piece of paper, it said, I spelled my name with the T and the F. Flip-flop. That's a lot of letters up here. It's actually S plus 11, so there's 12 letters. And nobody's going to notice the difference, whether the F, T, or the T and the F. It's supposed to be T. Well, I signed it F, and then the T. And so I did that so that if anybody saw my signature, they knew it was under duress. But if you take a look through the code of conduct, every one of those items in there we just talked about. And the fact that duty, honor, country are so critical to how we deal with things. It should be instilled as an integral part of your life each and every day. Leadership is what I'm talking about. If you're senior, you will be the man. And if you're junior, you will honor that person that is senior. It applies in normal military activities, and it applies in physical work. Faith, I guarantee you can't do it on your own. You've got to believe in a higher being. You've got to have faith in God, I believe, and faith in your fellow prisoner. Together, we can make it happen. But that higher being is always there to listen to you. Your fellow prisoner is there listening to you. And that leads us to communications, that it's, without communications, you know, it is just, it's impossible to do. Because you've got to know that the other guy is suffering just like you. You're not the only one. This is pre-my road technique. You can see that they just brought the arms straight up. Mine, here, the mics are on. Mine, they actually did bring my elbows together and then over the top. Either case, you're going to dislocate the shoulders. That's a given. When they undid the ropes, the pain was just as bad as getting into it because the blood's now flowing back in. Everybody knows what it's like when your arm goes to sleep or something like that. But start getting blood flow back to it. Multiply that times about 1,000 and all to your entire body. One of the greatest days of my life. When we come out with honor. We come out with our heads held high. We come out thanks to President Richard L. Smith. That's the 141. And in all the cases, that didn't take place until we were feet wet out of Vietnam's airspace. And then the engines could have fallen off that airplane, that 141. And we could have flown home on a high. Operation Homecoming was great. This is at Shepherd, the hospital that I went to. That's my wife. Married at 69 and spent basically 3 continuous tours to Vietnam. She was a trooper, she stayed with me. Not so for some of the other guys. The patch that I wear is PhD, like Top Gun, except that we carry it across the board for weapons and tactics. And now we cover all weapons, B-52 guys, tanker guys, everybody now goes through the weapons and tactics plan. They say fighter weapons, and citizen weapons. My friend Robin Knowles, he's the fighter pilot's fighter pilot. He's a true American hero. It's my pleasure to know him. This flight, I went to Colorado, picked him up and brought him back to Kansas, Guard. I hopped in the back seat, told him to get in the front seat, and he looked at me like, I think you know how to fly this airplane. He goes, well, I have. I says, General, you know how to fly this airplane. He was like, hey, you snot. Really enjoyed it. My Eagle Jet Advance is where we work with these 22 pilots that get their assignments. This young kid right there that I'm shaking the hand to, dead in my guard, was the F-22 Raptor pilot. We had gals getting 135s. Then we had gals get fighters this time. We had 3 F-16s, 2 F-15s, War Eagles, that's what I call them. This is one of the kids that graduated the class before, got his wings, and is waiting for his assignment to go to St. Louis. The Eagles tickle pink. Anything else? No matter what you do, you're as critical as anybody else. And you can be a Thunderbird pilot, or you can be the wing commander at Seymour Johnson, in charge of a multi-force wing. Anybody see what's wrong with this picture? Huh? Anybody? What's the matter with it?
Got a flame or something, right? You got 2 ends and the one's on.
Yeah.
I know it's on a carrier though, so
Yeah.
we're talking about.
He's doing a cat
Talking
shot.
about pilots, we're talking about aircraft carriers.
He's doing a cat shot, and one of the burners didn't play. He's on, he's going. So you can see the steam up there. He can make it off on one motor. The guys on the boats are terrific guys. I think that really brings me to the end of that. I wanted to try to leave time for questions, but I know it's time for you guys to break.
We got time for questions. Absolutely.
Questions for my purpose? Yes, sir.
Sir, Midshipman Nance, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how the higher ranking members in POW camps were able to continue being leaders while they were incarcerated, sir.
They always stood tall, and even in isolation, in solitary confinement, they would get the word out to the others. Here's what we're doing. He knew that he was okay. That he was going back in solitary confinement. Robbie Reisner had spent a total of 4 years, not simultaneously, but a total of 4 years in solitary confinement. And that solitary confinement's probably about went from this end to this end and then to the wall. That's your room. And you got a slab that you go in. those guys stepped up to the plate. Peter Flynn was our overall wing commander. Admiral Stockdale, Admiral Benton were there. They did their jobs. Other questions?
Let me add to that just a second. When Hegdahl, the seaman, was released, he didn't want to go because he knew that you're not supposed to go. Some people went, but he didn't want to go. And he knew that that was the rule. The leadership told him, go. Tell
Wanted to
him
get the names out.
Get the names out. So there was communication.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Sir, the tap code, was that something that you were very proficient in before you got captured, or did you just kind of learn it after you got captured?
You know, I learned the tap code when I went to survival school on my first tour. I got shot down on the second tour, right at the tail end. So I knew about the tap code. And when I was outside a room with a bunch of old guys on the inside, I tapped R, and I was going, let's see, R, U, and then I get this, I mean, it's like guys sitting around an electric typewriter typing 8,000 words a minute. I mean, they're just going like this. And so I have to go, hey guys, I don't have a clue what you're saying. I'm clear back here at step one, trying to visualize, and then figure out where really is the quadratic for the code. I mean, I like this a lot better. I could do A and B and C and D. As long as it had line of sight, well, we could talk up the star. This was not easy. And of course, if you've been there for 7 years, your grandpa could talk quite well.
You know, you're being modest. He got shot down in February, and there he sent me a document about a guy he knew, J.D. Souter, Rio, radar intercept guy. Within 2 months of Bill being a POW, he was teaching Souter how to do it fast. You know, but it's when you talk to them, that's the only way you can talk to them, and they learn it quick. But Mr. Modest here, you know, I'm an old country boy from Oklahoma.
I'm just a
Yeah, let me tell you what. The time I've spent with him since we got started over just a year ago, I have come to realize he's doing this old country stuff that I not his old country boy. Yeah, right. Because when J.D. Souter, the Navy Rio, wrote this document that I got, I was astonished at how fast Bill taught Souter how to do this. Because when I looked at the tap code on the Google, it's AFB something, the letters AFB something down the side, and time and again they talk about exactly what Bill says, like woodpeckers. And it was my honor to meet a guy named Ralph Galani, shot down in '66. And one time at meeting another guy, Ralph just started, Paul Galani, he just started going for it. And they were talking to each other 30 years after the fact. And I thought, well, this is a skill that's never going to be lost, escaping bicycle. But it was astonishing to see that form of communication and meet in
Yes, sir.
There were some prisoners of war that probably conducted themselves better than others. Some came up short. I mean, as you read these things, some came up very short.
Some very
And how they responded. Was there any impact to them afterwards?
Skipper, in fact, nothing was done until every guy was out, to start with. That was the first given. And then the leadership was going to court-martial, a Navy guy and a Marine guy, for their election of duty. our government was such that Operation Homecoming was such a big, fuzzy event. Everybody was smiling and happy that they didn't want the truth. So our government not stand up to the code of conduct that we damn near died for. They didn't back us up. That's a shame. There was other guys, those two were two specific guys. We had guys that come out early that weren't authorized to. They knew better. They were shunned from our organization. But nothing was done to them.
What about informally?
Well, they don't show up to the same social circles. And in the case of the guy that was doing the torture on Castler, he was a Cuban. We called him Fidel. I think some guys paid to have a contract. Because he was brutal, just brutal. I can't verify that. That would really make any difference. But, we take care of our own. We're still doing it. This year is 40 years of our return home. We still stand. It's proud of it.
What do you think the difference would have been? The code of conduct has changed a little bit, right? You're allowed to give a little bit more. Back when you were a prisoner of war was name, rank, serial number, nothing more, right? Now, what do you think the difference would have been? But you ended up doing it anyway,
Yeah.
just for survival, so it was kind of a natural progression, I guess. But how would your stay have been, or experience been different had you had today's code of conduct?
Well, nothing.
Would you have started talking, would you have taken less pain and started making up some stuff earlier on?
No, because, you know, it depends upon the guy or the gal. The thing you don't want to do is give military information. In 90% of the cases, the North Vietnamese and the North Koreans were interested in propaganda. Talk down your nation. Talk as if you're a war criminal rather than a prisoner. Sign documents of how well the treatment is. And that's all foreign to what we believe. So that's pretty easy to say, I ain't gonna do that. Now, some guys did. And we told them, hey, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. Some of them come back into the fold. Some those that haven't, we don't deal with. We just don't have anything to do with. Yes, sir.
At one slide you've got, it's got a picture, you're in the middle, two other folks.
Yes.
You were taken prisoner. That's the article there. It says, you read into that article, it said, hey, I love mom and dad, or whatever, hey, we're being treated well here, or whatever those words were. Were you told what to say there, or was that,
I
at the
wrote
time, you were
that.
only there for a little bit, so maybe that was your experience, I don't know.
I wrote that because I actually said, this is the 18th of February, I guess I had on the 16th.